So today, as I promised, I've got a bit of a bookie video for you. I'm going to tell you my sort of top 5 most quotable books. I'm not going to do this in any particular order. These are just 5 books that I really like and I quite enjoy the quotes from them. So I'm going to start off with the book that I said was my favourite book in my personal statement that I sent off to the universities when I applied. My favourite book really is Ready Player One, but I wasn't going to say that. So I chose my second favourite book, which is of more literary worth and is actually equally brilliant. They're probably on equal standing for me. It's Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. If you're not aware of the quotes from Slaughterhouse-Five, you're really missing out. I'm going to give you a couple here. Everything was beautiful and nothing hurt. And, of course, the classic, so it goes. And then, how nice to feel nothing and still get full credit for being alive. And my favourite, possibly one of my favourite. I have this disease late at night sometimes involving alcohol and the telephone. If you have not read Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut, I can highly recommend you do that. Just go read this book. Possibly the best anti-war novel I've ever read, because it's not overtly about war, and it's very good. It's very good. And all of it happened, more or less. Next up is the book that I'm studying for English Literature A-Level, but it is a very quotable book and I should be able to quote it since I'm studying it. It's 1984 by Eric Arthur Blair, otherwise known as George Orwell. I'm going to read you the opening line from this book, because it's wonderful. It was a bright cold day in April and the clocks were striking 13. That's amazing. It's the way the clocks were striking 13, it seems very disconcerting to a mind that sort of likes to think in a 12-hour clock. It's really good. You also got, he who controls the past controls the future. He who controls the present controls the past. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. Here's a fantastic one. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. This is a fantastic book. If you've not read this, this is one of the quintessential dystopian novels, and if you haven't read it, then go read it. In the same vein as Slaughterhouse-Five, it's just one of those books that you have to read, and I guarantee you, even if you don't enjoy it, you will get something out of it. It's a very, very good book. And so is his other novel, Animal Farm, which I can highly recommend as well. Now, next up is this book. Now, if you don't watch my videos very often, you'll wonder what this book is. If you do watch my videos very often, you'll know what this is. Like a 1950s hardback copy of the script for The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. Not technically a novel, but I'm counting this because it's hilarious. It's the funniest, play I have ever read. Possibly one of the funniest things I've ever read. It's just so witty and just brilliantly satirical. And I'm going to give you some of the quotes from it. I'm going to read you some of the quotes that they've got on Goodreads, but I'm also going to find the quotes in here, because I'm going to give you a bit of dialogue from it, because you really need to listen to the dialogue for it to really sink in. So here's a great quote. "I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read on the train. All women become like their mothers. That is their tragedy. And no man does. And that is his." And here's another one. "I am occasionally a little overdressed. I make up for it for being always immensely overeducated." And I'll give you literally some of the opening lines from the first act. So the first act opens, we can hear piano music off stage, and then there's a butler walks onto stage, and then the music stops, and Algernon, one of the main characters, walks in. And he says, "Yes?" Sorry, my friend just called me in the middle of filming. But he's applied for his UCAS thing now, so how exciting for him. "Did you hear what I was playing, Lane?" "I didn't think it polite to listen, sir." "I'm sorry for that, for your sake. I don't play accurately. Anyone can play accurately. But I play with wonderful expression. As far as the piano is concerned, sentiment is my forte. I keep science for life." And, of course, there's parts with Lady Bracknell interviewing Jack to see if he is a suitable husband, or if he would make a suitable husband for her daughter. Here's some wit for you, some satire. "What are your politics?" "Oh, well, I'm afraid I really have none. I'm a liberal unionist." "Oh, they count as Tories. They dine with us, or come in the evening at any rate." So, as you can see, it's quite involved, very sort of Victorian, witty. It's very funny, and I highly recommend you reading or if you can, seeing this play. Next up is a series of books, though I'll probably be mostly quoting from the first book. This is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy trilogy by Douglas Adams, and it's fantastic. It's a really, really good series. Let me read to you. I say I'm going to mostly quote from the first book. I'm going to read to you the first line of the second book, because it's one of my favourite lines. The story so far. In the beginning, the universe was created. This has made a lot of people very angry and has been widely regarded as a bad move. Another couple of quotes that you can find on the Goodreads page. Time is an illusion. Lunchtime, doubly so. The ships hung in the sky, much in the same way that bricks don't. Space is big. You just won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is. I mean, you may think it's a long way down the road to the chemists, but that's just peanuts to space. And, Ford, you're turning into a penguin. Stop it. So this is it, said Arthur. We're going to die. Yes, said Ford. Except, no, wait a minute! And he suddenly lunged across the chamber at something behind Arthur's line of vision. What's this switch? He cried. What? Where? Cried Arthur, twisting around. No, I was only fooling, said Ford. We're going to die after all. These are some very good books. If you don't know what to do with this book, just buy the first book and then read that and see if that sort of tickles your fancy, then get the rest of the trilogy. There are 4 other books in the trilogy. There's also a 5th book that I've not read. It's by Owen Colfer, the guy who wrote Artemis Fowl, but Douglas Adams died, so couldn't finish his series. My next most quotable book is a little lighter. It's, well, Looking for Alaska by John Green. This is the only sort of YA, I'd say, that's on my list, I guess. Maybe to a certain extent, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy's YA, but I think that's sort of like general comedy. This is good quoting for different reasons for the last 2 things I've quoted. It has lots of funny quotes, but this is more for like the quotes you tend to see in white over quite an overexposed picture of some flowers on like hipster blogs on Tumblr. Here's some quotes from this. So I walked back to my room and collapsed on the bottom bunk, thinking that if people were rain, I was drizzle and she was a hurricane. Here's a good one. Here's a funny quote. What the hell is that? I laughed. It's my fox hat. Your fox hat? Yeah, Pudge, my fox hat. Why are you wearing your fox hat? I asked. Because no one can catch the motherfucking fox. Here's a great quote from the Colonel, who's a character in this book. Wait! I just did some calculations and I've been able to determine that you're full of shit. There's also a fantastic chant in this book. It's a chant that they do at a sports game, which is something like chicken, mushrooms, soup, peas, we got higher SATs. It's very funny. And there are some more beautifully quotes in there, but I think I prefer the funny ones. It's a very funny book in general. There are parts of it that are very not funny, as I'm sure people who've read it are very aware. I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't read it. So those were my 5 most quotable books, as interrupted in the middle by my friend Lewis. I'm going to give an honourable mention to the first line of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, which is, "It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of great wealth is in want of a wife." It's just a classic opening line, and there are some funny witticisms in this book as well, and I can recommend Pride and Prejudice to you. I'm sure many of my peers who studied this last year would disagree with me, but I enjoyed this book. So, now that I've finished this video, I'm going to go and film tomorrow's video, which is Wednesday's video, and I'll see you then in a few minutes for me, but maybe not for you unless I... Goodbye.